Big D Entertainment, in association with Dipsy Doodle Productions, presents The Dave Holly Hour. Brought to you by The Sky Lounge and Tea, XL Chiropractic, Quality Nails, Ale Hop Brewery Tours, and Jesse Moffat Entertainment. The Dave Holly Hour features Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment Conversations and has been recognized by the Sioux Falls Stage Awards with a special distinction for promoting the arts. A true lover of arts, entertainment, good food, and fun times, including an occasional Jack Daniels. Okay, so a few Jack Daniels. Here he is, Dave Holly.
Welcome, everybody. Always a pleasure to have you along for the listen. Oh my, episode 116, and you are going to get your money's worth today. First of all, it's free to you, but it's not just a Dave Holly Hour. It's a good hour and a half this time around. In fact, that number 116. If you're a movie fan, and you look up on imdb.com, or you're going to a streaming service and so forth and want to find out how long a show is going to be, it typically doesn't say it's an hour and 36. It'll say that it's 116 minutes. Well, we're going to be talking feature-length film today. A feature-length documentary that has a lot of Sioux Falls ties to it. We're going to be joined by Storybuilt's Collin, McKenzie, and Steve Rausch to talk about their feature-length documentary, Vertical Freedom. Oh, man. One of the most enthralling conversations we've ever had. I've said it and mentioned it already to a lot of other people about it, and damn, it's just, it's breathtaking. And if you were up at 1,200, 1,400 foot maybe, with just, some belts around you and so forth, you might think it's breathtaking too. You'll find out all about it. And then speaking of movies, coming up tonight, Backlot 605, fellow podcaster Casey Kelderman and Brian and Sam, they are from Backlot 605. They will be hosting the Schumkies Awards tonight. Their version, a local version of the Oscars. So we look forward to that. But first, time to grab your favorite beverage, lift it high, and toast it to being Thursday, a.k.a. Weekend Eve.
Hey, the weekend isn't around the corner, it's here!
So long, hump day in your frumpy way. We say hello to Thursdays with opening nights. The weekend is near, and we can see the bright lights. Yes, Thursday, you're so hearty, we can't wait for Friday, so a day early, we start the party. All right, lift that glass, that mug, that tumbler, whatever it is you happen to be drinking. Might be a cup of coffee. Just depends on when you're listening, where you're listening, how you're listening, as to what you toast with. But lift it up and let's give a big cheers to entertainment choices. All right, here's my situation. I know where I have to be tonight in the choices going on in the Sioux Empire, because I happen to be in a live show, the live recording of the Midtown Coffee Radio Hours taking place at the back alley at 7 o'clock, the back alley of Augustana University, which means I can't make it out to the Schumkies Awards that we previously mentioned. That's at 7 o'clock tonight out at Spellbound Magic. Also going on yet tonight, your last chances tonight through Sunday to see Lombardi at Premier Playhouse. Oh, yeah, and there's other stuff going on, too. Those are just three that come to the top of my mind right now. But here's to having choices in the Sioux Empire when it comes to going out and enjoying arts and entertainment. The Weekend Eve Toast has been brought to you by Ale Hop Brewery Tours. No matter what brewery in Sioux Falls is your favorite, Ale Hop Brewery Tours lets you and your friends choose any or all of the 8 local breweries, plus Glacial Lakes Distillery if you need a little bit more spirit. The best part is they take care of the driving. Very cool van, 6 up to 6, so you can book a private tour online at alehopbrewerytours.com. Again, online, alehopbrewerytours.com for the private tours. Now, let's say it's a weekend, you're already out and about. hop on one of their public tours. For more info about that, call 605-777-2183. That is 605-777-2183. Ale Hop Brewery Tours, where micro fans meet micro brews. Don't forget to ask about their new Wine Wednesdays. Honorable mention. Oh, one of the things I mentioned you could go to tonight is the Play Lombardi taking place at Premier Playhouse. The wife and I took it in last week, opening night, and it was fantastic. My wife is not a football fan. She thought it was great. Got some friends that are in it. They did marvelously well. And but the honorable mention quite often goes out to something that made me laugh or chuckle, so forth. Well, Robin Byrne, Executive Director of the Premier Playhouse, before all the plays, always goes out and makes announcements and so forth. And then he was talking about the difficulty of getting this production completed because one actor, fell through the floor. And the quick-witted Robin Byrne, who has tried stand-up before, said, "It's okay. He was only going through a stage." There we go. To the Premier Playhouse, to Robin Byrne. This week's honorable mention winners. All right, coming up at the end of the show, we're going to be talking with Casey Kelderman about Backlot 605's live podcast tonight for the Schumkies Awards. But up next, we're going to get vertical. Vertical Freedom is a feature-length documentary film with lots of Sioux Falls ties and lots of stuff up in the air. Collin, McKenzie, and Steve Rausch will join us from Storybuilt next on the Dave Holly Hour.
Sure, they have darts, and you've heard me talk about how ruggedly handsome the trivia host is, but all caps fun never stops at the Sky Lounge and Tea. And fun is best had with your friends enjoying live entertainment, as in live and local. Yeah, the Sky Lounge believes in giving you the best bands, solo artists, and comedians from the area. The Neo Johnsons, Elizabeth Hunstead, Skylar Volks, as well as many others. And a great staff will make sure you enjoy your fun at the Sky Lounge in Tea, South Dakota.
Hi, my name is Jesse Moffitt, and I'm not a piano player. I'm a comic magician and hypnotist. I've been performing for over 20 years. I've performed at many events, corporate events, holiday parties, post-prom parties, graduation parties, state and county fairs, festivals, just about anything you can imagine. The funniest thing about the Magic Act is that I use a ton of audience participation, and that can make things really interesting. Put it down the front of your shirt. Stop being so, my hand won't follow it. The best thing about the hypnosis show is that the volunteers and their imaginations really make it a blast.
Holy crap, dude, did you see what you just did? You could do that possibly to girls.
For booking information, go to Jesse Moffitt Entertainment on Facebook. That's JESSEMOFFITT. Or call 605-929-0964.
Time for more art and entertainment talk on the Dave Holly Hour.
Welcome back, everybody. Always a pleasure to have you along. Always a pleasure to have new guests, returning guests. We have a 50-50 event today. Returning, Mr. CMAC Productions, Collin McKenzie, my dear friend. How are you?
I'm doing great, Dave. How are you today?
Excellent. Good to see you. And it literally see.
Yes.
Last year we did it over the phone. It was great. Always informative speaking to you. But I'm glad we can get together. And this time, we're not talking about CMAC so much, although it'll come up. We're going to talk about Storybuilt. And you have brought along with you a new guest to the Dave Holly Hour. Please welcome Steve Rausch. How are you?
I'm marvelous.
Thanks thanks
for letting me take along today.
Yeah, it's great to have you along with it. This is pardon the pun, this is a story about a company called Storybuilt. And this story has been making its way into fruition for about a year and a half, correct? And so, Collin, tell us the name of the movie that we're going to be talking about. And then we're going to get into some fun stuff with it.
The name of the film is Vertical Freedom. We've been in production for about 16 months, and where it's going to premiere in Las Vegas on February 22nd.
All right. That's fun. I mean, what a place to have a premiere.
Yeah, Caesar's Palace, February 22nd. Yeah, it'll be all right.
They know how to do this.
Yeah, they've had a party once?
I think once an hour.
Probably.
Based on past experience, it may be even more.
Yeah, right.
All right. So, Collin, tell us, how did the CMAC get involved with Storybuilt? I know last time you were with us, we talked a little bit about the fact you were doing quite a bit of traveling because you connected with Storybuilt. But how did that cooperation, collaboration, and so forth begin? And what got us to the point that we're going to have a movie to be talking about today?
Well, it's a story that probably starts about 10 years ago. We have 5 partners in Storybuilt: myself, Steve Rausch, Dort Kuiper, Don McClear, and Doug Lee. And we all work together all the time.
Like way too much.
Yeah, exactly. And so we were like, what can we do that is bigger, better, different? I mean, we all have our individual clients. We're all freelancers.
Right.
We all have our own companies. And so we're like, well, let's do something and with gusto and see what comes of it. Not thinking that we'd produce a feature-length documentary 6 months after putting our company together.
Is the ink dry in that form? I don't know. Let's start shooting.
Yeah, right.
Well, it brings up a lot of different things. Before we even started, we were talking about this, and I do want to get it out there for people because it is on their minds. When are we going to see the local premiere?
Excellent question, Sherlock. Okay. Well, first off, let's dig in just a little bit about the film.
Yeah. Storyline first. Let's do that.
Storyline is Life is Awesome. We connected with 6 incredible people that the commonality between them is they all work in the tower industry. Some might call them tower climbers, some might call them technicians, some might be engineers. But beyond that, what they do on a day-to-day basis is so amazing. It's not just the heights. It's the project management. It's the engineering. It's the science. It's the chemistry. It's the welding. It's the problem solving in the air while the wind's blowing, just to keep the signal up for people at home to listen to the radio, watch TV, or even actually pass internet service between different buildings. That happens over microwave hops, which are on towers. And these guys maintain that. They create it. They build it. And they also balance their personal lives on the road. Being gone. One of our guys travels a lot. I don't want to say the number because it's kind of a shock factor in the movie itself. So I can't just give that away.
Suspense.
Wait for it. I still can't tell you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the suspense part. So, but the film, it's, man, we got so close with this group of 6 that we kind of call them brothers and sisters. I did say sisters.
Yes.
There's
Caught that.
There's a female climber in here that she does some pretty gnarly stuff for herself. And she's also, can I say, multiple letter words on this?
Yes, you may.
She's a badass.
Okay. Well, because I'm going to tell you my favorite TV tower story at some point in this interview too.
Yeah, look forward to hear it. But that's really the movie is how they develop as people and the crazy, awesome things that they do every day. And it's actually, I think, more inspiring than thrill giving. And that's just my take on it.
I mean, the movie is pretty epic. I'm not going to lie. We finished the movie just a week ago. So it is pretty epic. I mean, we were at 1,200 feet. Doug Lee, one of our partners, was on the tower with the climbers. So he climbed with them wherever we were, where it was in Georgia or in Dallas or in Vegas or in San Diego or one of the other 17 states that we were in. Over the course of 16 months, he climbed with them. Of course, my drone was up there all the time as well. And I flew some crazy stuff that I'm like, this is not going to work, but it worked. And it's pretty, it's pretty gnarly, and it's really epic film.
Yeah, I know last year when we talked, you were talking about, just getting used to filming with the drone and so forth.
Right,
and
right.
the challenges that come along with it, but yet at the same time, the spectacular views you get.
Oh man,
Yeah, it's pretty breathtaking at times, and if you don't like heights, well, this is going to be a tough one for you. I mean, it truly will be. But getting back to your original question, local premiere. I mean, we're efforting that. Put it that way.
Okay.
Our goal is for this film to end up on a streaming service, be it Netflix, Hulu, Prime. That's the goal, and we have to kind of play by their rules a little bit. And if they say no local premieres, then that's
no local premiere.
That's correct. So
their checks have a few more zeros. Typically.
Yes. With zeros comes responsibilities, and so we have to play by their rules. So, but no, we're super excited to get this thing out to the public in a limited event in Vegas at Caesars, and then hopefully on a streaming platform.
Excellent. Well, we're looking forward to it. No doubt about that, because I'm always intrigued by it, having been in radio for 25 years, basically. And, I remember just going out to the transmitter a few times, being an on-air type guy. But I got to go out there occasionally. And then to look up and go, my God, that's so much taller than you ever thought it was.
Yeah.
Or, you go over to Rowena, the 2,000-foot tower, and you see the guy wires for it. And then if you're actually close enough on that gravel road next to it, it's like, how thick are those wires?
Yeah.
Just to hold that thing up.
Yeah.
So the people that work on it are tremendous. And I love the fact, Steve, that, you use so many different adjectives for it and adverbs and so forth. It wasn't just the fact that, oh, yeah, they're kind of gutsy, because they go up to those heights. But, they have passion for this work, too, don't they?
Oh, it's unbelievable. It just bleeds out of them. Bleeds is not the right word.
We don't want that coming off a tower.
Time out. Rewind. It oozes.
Yeah.
Good word.
Unlike my mental capacity right now, it oozes. Now they, you're going to hear the stories from them that this is what they do. This is why. And their passion is so thick. Good luck trying to argue it any other way with them. You're not going to win.
Yeah.
So what was your thought when you guys decided, oh, yeah, we're going to do this about people that climb thousands of feet up into the air, and take their tools with them, deal with wind, all this other stuff? What were you looking to get out of it versus what you got out of it?
Okay, so Storybuilt is different in that we have kind of a unique approach to understanding the story of a person or an event. Yeah, there's a story, there's a storyline, but what actually is that? So our goal as a group, using each other's skills and understanding and methods, and then bouncing off ideas off each other to filter what is important, what is not, and what relates to something else down the road, to kind of create that line that the story will take. I think because of our group's experience and the way we work together, it's a very unique process. So I actually wasn't thinking that we're going to get XYZ out of it. It was, how are we going to narrow it down from 150 million options into one movie? Because there is so much there and it can go so many different ways. Is it the scare factor? Is it the thrill factor? Is it the excitement? Well, we're also talking about safety, but safety doesn't necessarily balance excitement. Does it balance fear? I guess it really depends who you are. But just knowing that the road wasn't going to fork 2 or 3 different ways. It was going to fork like an upside down tree, maybe like a root system for a 150-year-old oak tree. That's what I was thinking was, how do we contain this so we don't get overwhelmed later? And that led to a whole bunch of different processes and how we prepared for our interviews and how we did our research and how we culled down the group into the final 6 people that were going to take part of it. And from there, it was just an evolution of maintaining the incoming information and how it related to the storyline that we were hoping to put out in the end.
Feature length, what's runtime on it?
96 minutes.
96 minutes.
Okay.
Yep. That was a guess. I was thinking 94, but I think we added credits. So that,
136 minutes with credits.
How much?
Wait. I think it was in 94.
I don't know. I'm making stuff up.
Yeah.
Basically, if you were to go to a theater, that's all it would be.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
All right. In the meantime, though, how many hours went into making that?
We don't count that.
Yeah.
Not even the film footage and so forth? Or
Okay. So here's what I can tell you. We have close to 24 terabytes of data. Wow. Somebody asked the other day, I think you fielded that one. How many hours of footage do you have? Well, it depends.
Yeah.
Because some of the stuff we shoot at high speed, and so when you play it back, it takes twice as long.
Right.
Sometimes 3 times as long. So is that 3 hours? No, you can't count it that way. But I can tell you for a fact, it's close to 24 terabytes of data. And we shot in 4K, 6K, 1080. There's some 720 stuff that was sent to us that we had to up-res into 1080 and even into 4K. But it's a film that's mastered out in 4K. And there's a lot of stuff that didn't make it with reason, and there's a lot of stuff we had to fight over to, state our case, whether it was strong enough to make it or move the story ahead. Yeah.
You know what's great about the fact you were just mentioning all those different resolutions is that most of the audience, because of the way technology has moved along, understood what you were talking about.
Right.
I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah, it's it's been a monumental undertaking. I mean, and we have all 24 terabytes backed up 3 times. So
smart.
Nothing, yeah. So we have 100 terabytes of footage
and files
laying around, just
and
waiting.
Location releases, and insurance forms, and
I mean, it's. I spent probably 3 months learning about laws and regulations and legal and insurance, and none of us have ever produced a feature film before. So what do you have to do to prep that?
Well, we had, but not for this type of release.
Well, sure.
We've worked on various films and feature length films and whatnot, but it's been like a local or a regional release. Knowing that we're going after a national audience, traveling in multiple states, multiple jurisdictions. The FAA is involved. The FCC is involved. At one point, the FBI was doing background checks on us. So the legal ramifications in there,
are pretty scary.
They're worth investigating before you step foot on location.
Okay, so throw out the most interesting thing you think the FBI would find in your file.
My file? Just mine.
Just yours.
How much time do we have?
That's a great thing about a podcast. Unlimited.
Unlimited. I'm pretty plain Jane. Probably burn my food just as often as I make it perfect. I don't think that's a crime.
Depends on the household.
Yeah, that's
right.
true.
Right.
That's true.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's some German background, but no Italians, so we don't.
Yeah. All right. So, Mr. McKenzie.
Yes, sir.
Besides loves beer,
yes.
What would the FBI find that you're willing to share?
Boy,
a crazy stunt as a kid or something.
Boy, nothing there. I mean, I grew up on a farm.
Every day was crazy.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Where's the 4-wheeler? I don't know.
I think
why is it in the tree?
I think the only thing they would find would maybe be when the Secret Service pulled me back from Hillary Clinton one time. That was but it wasn't my fault. She got too close to me and I couldn't move, and so they grabbed me by the neck and drugged me out of the room.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So that's kind of memorable
for me. I've been kicked out of a Dave Matthews Band concert.
What?
Yeah.
How's that possible?
Sorry. Wait, hang
on.
Did you not bring enough for the fans? Was that?
It was in Denver. There was plenty.
I've seen him a couple times, and my favorite story about that was we were in Wisconsin, some open air amphitheater thing, and when we got done, we hiked our way out, and the very first thing when we got behind the gate were grilled cheese vendors. Just making sandwiches for everybody that attended the concert. And I was like, what? And the little propane, and just like, but every 30 feet you could get a grilled cheese sandwich after the concert.
Yeah. No, my situation was, my full-time job was with Citibank. And with Citi, you can get pre-order tickets and so forth. You can get some backstage passes occasionally and so forth. So a friend and I were doing a variety magic show in Sidney, Nebraska on a Friday night. And Dave Matthews, and he's a huge Dave Matthews Band fan, and I like him and have been to some concerts. And he says, hey, think we can get something special out of Citibank and for Dave Matthews on that Saturday night? It's only 3 hours away. It's like, yeah. So we got online right away, got those, had the nice lanyards and so forth that we could basically go wherever we wanted. And by the way, Snoop Lion, not Snoop Dogg, he called himself Snoop Lion for a while, was the opener that night.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, as we're waiting at the gate, which opened at 4 o'clock for a 7 o'clock concert, and all you hear over the PA is, if you are escorted out, you will not be allowed back in. Every 5 minutes, if you are escorted out, you will not be allowed back in. It's like, well, we don't have to worry. We got backstage passes, basically, all access and so forth. And so Zach decides to go walk around. Me being a little older, I thought, I just really have to enjoy a $13 beer here in this seat. And all of a sudden, this guy comes over, says, may I see your ticket? I said, well, sure. So I hold up the pass. Come with me, please. Okay. And I get escorted to the gate, and there's about a dozen. And no explanation. And remember, you are not allowed back in. Okay. Bad enough. So remember, the state of Colorado,
right,
is where this is taking place. Well, here's what happens. Zach drove. He had the keys and was not going to, get out of the concert to come save me, because then he wouldn't be allowed back in.
Right.
So it takes about 45 minutes of laying on concrete to get comfortable enough to nap.
45 is all?
Yeah.
I was going to say, it must have been warm.
It was August. At which point then, being it in the state of Colorado, people come up and wake you up. Are you okay? Yes, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Trying to nap.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I figured Dave Matthews owes me something.
He does.
Yeah, no
free
doubt about
concert.
that.
Free concert in your backyard.
Concert.
Yeah.
It should be.
He
He didn't even tell me when he karaoke'd down at the Books and Brews when that was still open. Yeah, I know it. Okay. We got just a little off the subject there.
No.
So
It's
then I
all
might
about
as well.
showbiz.
Yeah. So then I might as well tell the TV tower. The 2,000-foot tower over at Rowena. Late January 1979. First official date with a girl where you actually drove somewhere and so forth. Growing up in Rock Rapids,
right?
You came to Sioux Falls to go to the State Theater.
Sure.
I apparently closed it down. Took lots of years to get back. So I choose to go out with Vicki Holmes. She was a year younger with me, has a birthday right after me. So we had a lot in common.
Perfect.
We were, some classes that we were in together. She was a chatty Cathy. And I thought, oh, this is going to be great. No problem at all.
Right.
So I pick her up. We take off. We come up here to go to the State Theater. Literally, the only thing she said on the way up to Sioux Falls was when we passed the 2,000-foot tower, and she looks up and says, I wonder how much bird shit's at the top of that.
Not as much as you would think.
Really?
You're right.
Yeah.
Well, see,
Yeah.
what a segue. It leads us into more questions about climbing towers.
Right? Yeah, we...
the weather up there, a little bit more voracious than it is on the ground.
I can imagine.
So
the birds don't necessarily...
Well, first, they got to be very well targeted.
Yeah.
And there's holes, and it goes right through.
Yeah.
So, yeah. However, one of the towers that we were with... southeast of Des Moines, there was a I don't know how it happened. You might have to correct me if I'm wrong or not on this one, but apparently as a joke, they had like a raven had expired, died, passed out forever, whatever it was, but they wanted the new guys to like be aware or whatever, so they actually had somebody carry it up to the top. And I think this is only a 300-foot tower, but that's not like a 2-minute
that's
journey.
Yeah. Going up a football field.
Yeah. So they got its wings propped out, and it is still there.
Yeah.
And you can actually see it in some of our shots. I think that is the only bird poop that we saw on any of this.
Yeah. I think I saw more iguanas when we were down in Florida shooting than I did birds.
Yeah.
Although I will tell you, birds love drones.
Birds and drones.
Oh, fun.
Match made in air.
No,
Right there.
no, not ideal. Not fun. Hawks,
Yeah.
Pigeons, no, bad. Yeah, bad. Bogies, many bogies.
Incoming cruise missile.
So what do you do for a living, Collin? Well, I video with a drone. So I'm basically like working for the Air Force.
Yes,
I'm on a fighter jet.
Yes, very much that way.
Fox 3. Fox 3.
Tango.
Oh, yeah. Did you have code names and so forth?
No, but why didn't we do that
next time?
That'd have been brilliant.
Well,
I want to be Goose.
The sequel. I do say "Talk to me, Goose," like a lot.
Yeah,
like when I'm trying to. So I drove a lot when we were on the ground. We packed everything we owned, right? Everything we traveled with into a minivan, and God help us if the door would close.
Yeah,
because that's a lot of gear, and then close for a week times 4 people plus whoever we'd meet on the ground that we'd be, or just moving stuff around, but. I'd be asking for directions, and like everybody's checking their email. They're like, "Hey, is there a restaurant nearby?
Yeah,
how late can we get a drink here?"
Like,
talk to me,
the important stuff.
Talk to me, Goose. Right. What exit am I taking?
You brought up iguanas, and one of the recent storms that they had down in Florida. They were talking about that on the national news.
Iguanas.
Yeah, flying iguanas drop out of the trees.
It's cold and their body temperature drops, and they just. And that we were down there in December shooting with Sean, one of the featured tower climbers, and luckily it was nice. But he's like, "Yeah, that's a thing. You go outside, and if it's below 32 degrees, you don't want to stand underneath the tree." I'm like, "Why?"
Without your heart.
Yeah. I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Because something's going to fall out of onto your head." I'm like, "I will freak out."
What was the tallest tower that you guys
tower that
do we still say filmed at all?
Shot,
just
filmed.
Shot. Okay,
I mean
collected images of.
Yeah,
got your terabytes.
Dawson, Georgia was the tallest tower that we climbed, and I think we were at 1,200 feet.
I want to say 14. Not that it matters.
Well,
the extra 200 feet is just a half second of screaming when you're coming down.
Yeah.
But
per second.
1,200, 1,400.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So, I flew my drone at, I think my max height I set was at like 1,400 feet.
Oof. Incredible.
Yeah. It takes a long time to get up there with the drone.
Right.
It takes twice as long to come down, especially when your battery's dying. Just going to say. If it starts beeping at 1,200 feet, get down quickly.
Right now.
Aren't you glad you don't need an extension cord for that?
I did think I was going to have to catch it at one point because I didn't think the battery was going to expire before it got to the ground. But
so radio.
Yes.
If you could give me your side, radio. What did you do, radio? Were you?
I was mostly a DJ in that time, but also did sports play-by-play.
Okay.
Was a news director.
Got it.
Was a farm director out in Greeley, Colorado. And did a talk show at the end.
So for the people at home listening to the podcast, radio signals tend to emanate out this way. I know at home you can't tell what this way means, but it's along the ground. Height helps
for FM,
but not necessarily for AM. But then when you have TV, that's a whole different signal. And then when you have cellular, that's a whole different signal yet. No matter how you look at it, height plays into the equation. So the towers that are taller are typically for TV or AM. They're close to the ground, it's for FM. But for cellular, it's in that 300 to 400 foot range in the open range. But they also have what they call rooftops or pole tops. So a light pole might be the top of a 5G antenna. And that's only about 30 feet off the ground. We explored 5G in the film. That's part of the reason why there's so many people that need to get into this field, because this thing's just cracking. It's just mad hopping.
But they could use another 10 to 12,000 new climbers, and they could start them now, right now.
And I'm assuming, based off of what this job entails, it's probably not $15 an hour either, is it?
No, these guys and gals make a fantastic living. It's a great career, and that's something we explore. Is like, is this just for anybody, or is this a career? Well, it's a career, and it's a life, and it's a passion for the climbers that we put ourselves in bed with. And literally, because one of our guys was taking shots from behind Robert in his back. So
hashtag stories from the road.
Yeah, right. So yeah, it's and 5G is where we're going. I think I heard AT&T is supposed to roll out 5G in Sioux Falls end of this month.
Mm-hmm.
Will it happen? I don't know, because it's all going to be rooftops and it's all going to be on the light poles.
Yeah.
Well, it takes a lot of manpower, lots of hours to get that done. Now, imagine doing that like Verizon say they want to do nationwide.
Yeah.
Well, how is that going to happen? There's only 12,000 climbers in the United States right now.
More than that.
Maybe 15,000.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said 1,200.
12,000.
12,000. Sorry. Part of my RAM problem.
Yeah.
It just doesn't catch up.
And they're doing the work to serve over 300 million people.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And as you know, the signal only goes so far.
Right.
And you need another antenna.
Yeah.
Guess what? 5G doesn't go as far as FM.
No.
You need a lot more antennas, which is where the work comes into play and whatnot. So going back to this, like, so the high stuff, not a lot of climbers actually work on the tall structures. That's a very small percentage of the overall workforce. But where they need people like right now is at the rooftop or in a bucket truck, or usually under 100 feet. Now, the neat thing is if you've got a building that's 7-8 stories, you can go on top of that building.
Up, yeah.
Now you got a 100-foot tower.
Yeah.
Just like that. Because technically the roof doesn't count if there's like a structure on top that, but you can't get there with an elevator, so it doesn't count. So it might be 7-story building. You think, 10 feet, 70 feet. Well, it's actually a little bit more, but then there's the top part and then the little spike on top of that. So yeah, you're at 100 foot.
Yeah.
But, it's just, that's all you really need. And for infrastructure support. So you don't have to be massive anymore. You just have to be broad.
Yeah. We've learned so much.
That helps a body like mine.
Yeah. We learned so much about this industry. It's insane. I mean, I never used to pay attention to cell phone towers. Now I can go by a tower and I can see the red and white bands. And they're like, "Oh, how tall is that?" I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4,
270 feet.
Yep. Yeah. I can calculate in my head.
Okay, so how tall is a band?
Every band is 20 feet.
20 feet. Okay.
Yep. So if you
see, I never knew that.
You count
in all the years of radio, it's like I didn't know what.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
you got to hang out with the other crowd.
Yeah, no doubt.
Cool guys like us. Cool guys like us. So yeah, we've learned an immense amount about 5G and how crazy good it's going to be. I mean, we've experienced it. We've used it as we've traveled, and it's blazing fast. It's phenomenal. So I can't wait till it gets in Sioux Falls because I'd like to have it.
We were on a different job, unrelated to this, probably 2.5 years ago. I think we were in St. Louis, and he needed to download a file, video file, just to tweak something. And the hotel internet was horrid, but his 5G signal kicked in, and you downloaded what was a 500 megabit, which is a half gig file. It was like 8 seconds.
Yeah. Wow. It's blazing. It's blazing, dude.
And if you currently download like an hour on the Netflix platform, you're about 240 meg. So because of the compression schemes and whatnot. But yeah, that's equivalent to a 2-hour movie on Netflix in a matter of seconds. That's what the 5G technology is doing.
Oh, wow. So, and I'll even give my little story about, just moving from DSL up to high speed because couldn't afford at first when I started the podcast. And it would take basically an hour
right
to upload my podcast, which is basically an hour.
Yeah.
And sometimes at 99%, there'd be a glitch and I'd have to start over.
I love those
so,
days.
Those first few weeks, it was like, oh, good night, honey. I'm hoping midnight, maybe 1. Yeah. And then my full-time job required me to get the nice high speed, hooked it up. The first podcast that I uploaded was finished before I had the description of the show written. It took 90 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah. And so now you're talking about...
Take that times 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the multipliers for data, for moving that much data around, it's almost scary.
Yeah.
And this is not what we're talking about today, but it's like what we're talking about in the movie is how do you get that and how do you maintain that for the public? These guys do it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And like we were talking earlier about how we call them brothers and sisters. Like we got to be, they're so open and fun to be around in the first place, but we've got the relationships with them now that like, if I was driving through Denver or Las Vegas and I like blew a tire and like had a major car problem on the interstate,
you could call them
like I would call them. They were like, yeah, go to my sister's house. You can use her car until you it's like,
that's great to have those connections regardless.
Every one of these 6 people is the same way. It's just, they're such good folk that it was actually more enjoyable to work with them than I think it was to actually try and pick the details apart for a movie.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I, much like you do in your podcast, you ask the questions and we respond. Well, that was my job role in the movie, besides the drone work, was to do the background, the research, write the questions, sit eyeball to eyeball with them while Steve was on sound and Doug and Don were on cameras. Well, so I had to create the dialogue. Well, we knew we had to go certain directions with the film. So we had specific things that I had to target to ask. I think on every single occasion we cried.
Oh yeah.
All of us on the crew.
Wow.
Yeah. There's tears.
I mean, that's that's some powerful emotional stuff then.
It is. I mean,
and this is the 22nd.
Yeah.
We're gonna see if I can get a flight out.
Come on down, brother. Yeah, it's only one we did not cry was Sean, and he was really, really close. And then he punched me afterwards. He's like, "You son of a..."
He did. right in the...
Yeah. Right. Like, you almost made me cry.
Yeah.
Like, well, I wasn't trying to, but I had to go there to... And because this movie is told by their point of view. Yeah. There's no narration.
No narration.
No VO work at all?
No.
Just that? Wow.
No voice of God.
Dang.
Sorry, Dave.
I was going to say, next time you keep old Dipsy Doodle Productions in mind, would you?
So, yeah, they tell their own story. Well, that takes a lot of sound on tape to make that work. So, I mean, Robert down in Albuquerque, I think we did the interview was 7.5 hours.
Yeah. Well, total.
Yeah.
Total.
Right.
Because we actually interviewed him 3 times.
Yeah.
But still.
Like formal interviews.
Yeah.
3 times. Off the side joking interviews, that's not even counting. Like, oh, what do you think about this? That's not even in there.
So yeah, we have probably 50 plus hours of interviews that we scrubbed through to pull out the best stuff
to get
and
down
tell
to
the story.
That basic hour and a half.
So a lot of stuff left on the cutting room floor. No doubt about it.
What was the process? First of all, whose idea was, hey, this would make a great documentary, wouldn't it? Let's go out and...
Well,
and then take us from there to right now.
Right. So the idea came from our client, which is Nate, which is
the infrastructure specialist for the communications part of the world. They changed it recently, and I can't keep track of what it is. But basically, they're kind of like OSHA, but for climbers.
Right.
Except they're not government. It's a private industry group that focuses on safety, education, and making the industry safer for itself. And all the climbers are very happy to be working with Nate because they do the research. It's kind of like Consumer Reports, but for a specific group of the teleconstruction industry.
And when you're dealing with one oopsie and you're dead, that's fairly important. Piece of information to have on your. This carabiner is better than this one, or this harness is better than this one because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. And what's your working load at this height or under these wind conditions? What kind of stress can this specific element take? And they recommend 3. I have 2. Okay, is that okay? Well, if OSHA says 2, it's not. But Nate makes it like fun and entertaining and like easy to follow.
I'm enthralled by all that you're talking about, really, and I'm glad you brought up the carabiner part then, because we sit there and we find one online or something. Oh yeah, I should probably have that for this, or maybe you're down at the Ace Hardware and they've got one for $1.99, something like that. But I always tell people this when it comes to respecting musicians, actors, whoever's putting something on, that
Elizabeth Hunsted's a very good friend.
Yep, I know her well.
And
Sure.
so I talk about Elizabeth a lot. And if people say, well, how much do you suppose she gets? And I said, first of all, none of my business. It's hers.
Yep.
But I hope it's good.
Yes.
And then I'll point to things. I'll say, okay, so Elizabeth is playing that piano. All right. So that piano was on a stand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that stand came out of a bag.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You see that bag? The bag itself was probably $100, maybe $150 to $200.
Right.
That stand,
Mm-hmm.
anywhere starting $250, probably more $500.
Mm-hmm.
That piano, she might have gotten a really good bargain at $1,000,
Right.
but probably a few grand into
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Oh, and then she's got the speakers and they got
Mhm.
bags and all those
Yeah.
things that help her
Yep.
and so forth. And then what does she do with all that? She entertains you with several years of practice,
Yes.
rehearsal,
Yes.
and having a skill
Yep.
that you come out to enjoy, most likely, because you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sitting there thinking, okay, God, I wonder what, a carabiner for somebody that's going up 1,200 foot's going to cost me.
That's a good question, and I don't know the answer to that.
I tell you what, there's a lot of similarities between rock climbing and recreational rock climbing
Okay.
and the tower industry. There are ratings that are written on it. And if you go to the hardware store and it says not for climbing use,
Right.
by God, there's your answer.
Right.
Those things will handle maybe 42 pounds. Well, if you're a 200-pound person and suddenly you're falling 10 feet, you literally need
Mm-hmm.
the rating of kilonewton or newton ton in order to be safe.
Yeah.
So it's, and then you have to have multiples of them. So it's just, again, we're a little nerded up on.
I
side of the
find
thing,
it
but-
fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're nerded up about it. And I'm glad that it's, you guys have come together, the six of you, and put together a feature-length documentary
Yes.
that we hope somehow can get here.
We
But
hope
if
so,
not,
too.
most likely it's going to end up on a streaming service.
Correct.
And I actually hope that for you, because I want you to be very, very, very successful with this project.
Yeah.
And because then I think it will lead to more projects.
We fear for that a bit, honestly. That causes us a loss of sleep at times
Yeah.
because we don't know what's going to happen after
Right.
this.
Mhm.
We don't know if somebody else, Kellogg's, sees it and goes, "Ooh, we want to do a documentary on this." Well, or-
Cleaning out the cereal making machine. Go.
Yeah, right. Well, don't need a carabiner for that one, but so we
Just
don't
a lot
know.
of milk with
Yeah,
the
yeah. But I mean,
Frosted Flakes, and I'm in.
Nate has been fantastic, and it's been just a blast.
See, we got so excited we forgot to answer that question. Nate
Right.
Is not a guy.
He's a dude.
Mhm.
No. Todd Schleckaway is the head
CEO.
And,
Okay.
Doug Lee has been helping me create safety videos for the climbers, for the climbing industry. So one of the things that they've done is, instead of handing out a white paper, which, is just black ink on white paper with the scientific results of a survey of how much this thing can lift and what its breaking point is. No, you make a video so people can understand
Right.
how it gets to the breaking point and how to avoid that. So they've been working on that series of educational videos for a number of years. And it dawned in somebody's brain that it was like, hey, it'd be kind of cool to do this for like a full movie, like show what really goes into making this happen. And some more discussions and this and that and back and forth. A couple years later, it got revisited and then it went up again. And somewhere in there, the idea was born and presented. And I don't know who specifically to point the finger at for credit, but it took that effort and that dedication and then the skills and the relationships that are already there to get to the point where Storybuilt got the opportunity to put it together. So, yeah.
And it was when they brought it to us. I mean, as a group, we had to look at each other and go, "Is this something we really want to undertake?" Because we knew what it was going to take. I mean, it's been 16 months, and we were probably on the road 5 months out of those 16 months.
Yeah.
So we were gone.
Oh,
a
you want
lot.
stories? Oh, we got stories.
Favorite story from the whole works?
Getting home.
Yeah.
No.
Well, that's part of it.
Well, so just for example, we had, okay, so each of our 6 people that's a climber, they all have their own area, their region of interest, and a lot of them travel. So we had to coordinate when they were going to be home so we could catch them at home, along with 2 other people, because our goal was to try and do 1 trip, 3 cities, catch 3 people at home. The logistics of this, when the airlines cut half their flights, rental cars are being sold because there aren't enough people to rent the cars. We need a big car. New Mexico almost didn't let us in because they weren't allowing any out-of-state travel because they were trying to slow the spread, which anyway, that's not this podcast.
That's a politics one,
right? Collin Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
But
by the way, I'm on Spotify.
So in lining up the trips, the details, the things that had to go in our favor, making the flights, having the flights not get canceled, having the hotel reservations lined up, and just going, not to mention when we got on the ground, we needed a crew of about 6 to 8 people of support to help us pull off the interview. So a gaffer is the guy with the lights, and we needed him. We needed the location. We needed hair and makeup. We needed lunch. We needed a production assistant. We had to have all that coordinated ahead of time. And Dork Hyper did a lot of heavy lifting on that. We had another person help out quite a bit. But then once we were on the road, it was set in motion. That was just the interview. The interview was the most predictable part.
Mm-hmm.
When we actually went to shoot the B-roll and get them climbing in action, we had to do that again. Not 3 cities in a row, because it was like Sunday, we'd fly in, we'd fly out Tuesday morning, we'd interview Tuesday afternoon, then Wednesday we'd spend the all day, Thursday rinse and repeat, and then come home. And we did 2 trips like that.
But, I mean, it was really interesting flying during COVID, though. I mean, there was a lot of times we flew mainly out of Omaha. And there were a lot of times where the 4 of us were like it on the plane.
Yeah.
I was worried I was going to have to fly the plane.
Jet, huh?
Yeah, you kind of felt that way a little bit. I mean, you had your whole row, like your whole section.
But in the airport, nothing was open, so you couldn't have
you couldn't eat and drink. Vending machine was it.
Yeah.
But in New Mexico, when we flew in, since they were so locked down, we had to show our media cards once we landed.
Just to get out.
Because they had a security guard after you came out of the gates, and you had to tell them why you were there. Otherwise, you weren't let in. So we were like, okay, media card, please work. And it did. But yeah, we just ate everything in our car, everything in the hotel room.
Yeah. The glamours of working on the road.
Right.
Yeah.
So our minivan,
non-existent in this case.
Our minivan is full of equipment, and there's 4 of us, and the restaurant is closed, so you have to eat in the parking lot. We're like, well, I like you guys and all, but
yeah, right.
I like to go sit over there, but I'm afraid I'll get arrested being out on the street.
Well, we were in North Miami with the city of Hollywood, and we'd been shooting all morning, and we stopped and found this little restaurant. We ate. The problem was at that time in Hollywood, no public restrooms were open. 0. Well, we'd all been drinking coffee all morning.
And water, because it's hot in Florida.
Yeah. And no public restrooms.
Any bushes? Because all I can think of with Florida is palm trees. That doesn't hide much.
No, they're not real wide. And lots of people. So,
yeah,
dilemmas. What was another good one? Oh, that was our hotel in Albuquerque. Where we had
Is this the domestic violence one?
Domestic violence one.
Yeah.
Oh, spill it. Tell us. Come on.
Well, the pictures online look great of the hotel.
Oh, like if you want a Southwest experience with a little Native American art on the wall, this is where you would go.
Okay.
That was our hotel.
Yeah.
I checked in, got my room. About 3 minutes later, on the door with some screaming. And then I think it was a female, and then a very heavy male voice, and then the female voice. I'm just like,
yeah.
So I just sat there like, I'm in the bathroom. Like, I was like, I don't. Well, anyway, that was like when we checked in at, I don't know, 7, 8 o'clock at night. I think about 1 a.m. it really got interesting.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Nobody really slept from that point
Mhm.
on.
No.
And we had to get up and go shoot and go to work.
Yeah.
And we don't stay at that hotel for one night.
Yeah. Yeah. The other 4 nights were someplace else.
But it was all night, nonstop screaming. It's just like, what is happening?
Yeah. Yeah. I expected shots to be fired at some point, but
Thankfully none.
None that I recall.
Okay.
Or maybe I did fall asleep for a hot second.
And then we had to go up to Sandia Crest Mountain the next morning, which is 11,000 feet, and work up there all day.
Sucking air on the way.
Well, we didn't. I mean, thank goodness we drove most of it.
Yeah.
But at that height, the air compresses a little bit, which makes the wind blow. So I think our sustained wind was about 50 that day. And then the guys were on the tower, up in that. And they weren't that high off the ground. But what do you count the ground?
Exactly.
Do you count the ground here? Or do you count the ground 11,000 feet lower where New Mexico or where Albuquerque is? But the views up there were amazing. And so this also goes back to what we were talking about with tower height earlier. Because, I think Albuquerque is about 5,000 feet in altitude, kind of like Denver, mile high.
Right.
Yep.
Well, Sandia Crest is 11,000. So it's another mile up from that. And we've got views from the tower looking down into Albuquerque, which it's crazy just being up there and doing it. But now that you've got that height, everybody has put their tower on top of that place. And it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
There are RF warnings everywhere. You have to have special security clearance to get through certain gates to go into this area because the RF is so dense because the towers are so close together. And we're not talking like 7 towers. We're talking like 150.
Yeah. And then they're like, "Hey, Collin, fly your drone." Like, yeah. Okay.
Can you just weave in and out?
Yeah,
I'll
just miss those. Shall we? Okay.
Well, the Olympics are on, so you did the slalom.
Yeah, there was a whole lot of bad words uttered, I believe.
But what's nice about the drone is there's no audio with it, so we don't hear any of the
No.
Exactly. But it makes some amazing imagery.
Yep.
And I mean,
my favorite shot of the whole film is we had Key, who was one of the climbers from Dallas, and he was at the very top, about 1,250 feet. And it's actually part of the very first shot of the film and the ending shot of our film. We had this scripted out and planned, and we knew I was going to be flying at 1,200 feet, but he's up there as the sun is setting. So he's got the sun peeking through him and his body and around, and you can just see for miles and miles and miles. And and
there was no wind.
Yeah.
It was
epic.
Wow.
Epic. So
So looking forward to this.
Yeah.
So again, are you calling it a world premiere?
Well, I think it has
to be.
Well,
Has
the
to
first
be.
time the world
Caesars?
sees anything with it is a world premiere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah. So the approach, we really want to do a show here. We want to do like 7 or 8 showings.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if it's possible yet.
Right.
But the good news is, if we are able to place it onto a streaming service, then you can watch it
Exactly.
when you want in your house with your super surround sound
And
speakers.
if I don't get to make it to Caesars, I'll just bring my roulette table in and spin a few times. I'll watch it.
I'm going to put all my money in black, so I'm going to do that in Vegas anyway.
Well, half the time he wins.
Yeah, I do.
It's fair.
Well,
So
see, I love roulette.
Yeah.
Absolute favorite game because it takes a long time to spin.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to put your bets down. It takes a long time to pay the bets out.
Mm-hmm.
It takes you a long time to lose the money you said you were going to lose.
This is
whereas, you go play some blackjack and that $100 bill can be gone very fast.
Oh, yeah.
I can be at a roulette table for a few hours getting free drinks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're just a high roller, David. I think that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Always love to end with a couple of questions. And this is going to be fun because when it comes to arts and entertainment, I always like to ask, when you're not involved in it, but this is even more specific, when you're not involved creating arts and entertainment for others. What do you like to do? Collin first.
Not
Not to be confused with the actor Collin first.
I will be signing autographs later. So, I love to be outdoors. we're blessed to live in South Dakota, where there's plenty of things to do outdoors: fishing, hunting, canoeing, whatever it could be. Just get outdoors and enjoy it. Just the air is so nice here. I mean, we travel all over the country, and you see what you have when you get back here. You're just like, I don't have a Lamborghini like I could have had down in Fort Lauderdale, but my air is way better, and it's not salty.
Yeah.
I like that fact.
Well, I remember I've been to Florida once, spring break. So that was late February. And it's like, oh, yeah, it's going to be 70 plus degrees most of the time. That's nice. And 90% humidity most of the time.
Yep.
I sweat a lot.
No, I know. And one of the highlights from me, in 1 month, I got to swim in the Gulf of Mexico. I got to swim in the Pacific Ocean, and I got to swim in the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh, jealousy is coming up right now.
So some of the travel stories aren't all bad.
Right.
Yeah.
I wasn't skinny dipping, mind you, but...
Yeah, that's my FBI file.
That I do not doubt whatsoever, Dave.
In fact, I'll tell you a little story after we're finished here. All right, Steve. So how about for you? When not creating, what do you like to be doing?
Sleeping.
Yeah.
Which I don't do.
Yeah, right.
That's a good question. I also like being outside. I wish I could. Actually, we talked about this on the way in. We used to be super close neighbors. Now we're like semi-appropriate distance neighbors. So we drove in today, and we were actually talking about golfing and how much we're going to play this year. And we always say, "Oh, this is the year."
Right.
Yeah. Okay. But just being outside, watching the sunsets. Golden hour is a big thing in photography and video. I think we enjoy it so much more. Because we know what we can do with it.
Yeah.
And we know how rare it is, how fleeting it is. To be out there doing something, what you're doing, while enjoying what you're doing while that's happening, it's like, it's a good place.
Excellent. Yeah. In fact, the reason that the logo of the Dave Holly Hour is orange and purple is because of South Dakota sunsets.
Oh, I thought that was a misprint. I'm kidding.
All right. So, Collin, again, tell us name of the movie, where we're going to find it, and...
Well, the name of the film is Vertical Freedom. You can find the long-form trailer on verticalfreedomthemovie.com. You can go visit that. You can also find us on social media and Storybuilt Media on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, all that good fun stuff. And then premieres February 22nd at Caesars in Las Vegas. And then our hope and our goal is to land it on a streaming platform.
All right. So what time out at Caesars on the 22nd?
6:30 in local Las Vegas time.
Okay.
Should be Pacific
6:30 Pacific then.
Yep. And then we have
8:30 our time.
Yeah, they've even thrown us a red carpet gala beforehand. So
okay,
I'm gonna wear pants. I think I'm gonna try.
I was gonna put a belt on.
Yeah.
The pants are mandatory.
Let's see, that's a Tuesday, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Tuesday the 22nd.
Okay.
Yep.
I've got Monday off or Sunday.
Well, let me know. I can get you in. I know people. I know people, Dave.
See, now I can say I know people.
That's right. That's right, Dave.
All right. And it's Collin McKenzie and Steve Rausch from Storybuilt. And thank you so much for telling us all about Vertical Freedom. So looking forward, no matter how I end up watching this movie, but it's everything you said was just absolutely enthralling. I'm completely fascinated by it, and I have the feeling there's going to be many more that will be as well. So thanks, guys. Appreciate you being on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dave. Have a good day.
And we'll be back with more of the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment.
Dr. Perry Langston and Dr. Corey Tooney know excellence is in you. That's why they provide you with excellent care at XO Chiropractic, improving your overall health in spirit, body, mind, and will. Get results the natural way. Arrange a consultation, 605-332-9235 or exokairos.com. Excellent care for excellent people. XO Chiropractic, located at 4309 South Racket Drive in Sioux Falls.
With him, every day is a holiday. Once again, here is Dave Holly.
Welcome back, everybody. We talked about a documentary film that's being made and premiering out in Las Vegas on Tuesday the 22nd. But now we're going to talk film again, taking place in Sioux Falls, and it's a little schmucky. Let's be honest about it. Casey Kelderman for Backlot 605 Podcast. How are you?
Mr. Holly, I am doing great. Thank you for having me back on.
It is always a pleasure to have you here. Let's see, third or fourth time for you now.
On your show?
On my show.
I think this is second or third, but I
sure.
think you and I have collaborated many times between multiple podcasts.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And your podcast is going live this Thursday, the day that this podcast comes out, and you're going to be out at Spellbound because you're having the Schmuckies. What are the Schmuckies?
The Schmuckies.
An extra in that for you too.
Schmuckies. We have this. This is what I call our Academy Awards. It is Backlot 605's version of a movie awards show.
Mm-hmm.
I refer to it also as the Slammy Awards for WWE fans, if anyone remembers what that is.
Certainly.
Basically, award shows that don't matter. And the way you look at the Oscars, sometimes they don't matter.
Very true.
Even as a movie fan who watches it every year, it's all opinions. Hey, this time it's our opinion. So, yeah, we're putting on our version of the Academy Awards. It is movies voted on by us and then voted on by us. So, yeah, we're very excited to do this a second year in a row, doing it live from Spellbound Magic Shop, and very excited to be presenting this type of show here in Sioux Falls.
Well, you know, the one thing about being involved in entertainment is I can't make it because I'm in a show that night. Otherwise, I would be there because I've been to one of your live presentations out at Spellbound before, and it was a hilarious event. And I want to know how this voting takes place then. How do we get to this point? You voted on them. You're voting on them again. How does this all make, I'm just going to use it since you're on a Spellbound, how does it make magic?
How the magic works is basically we started off with this last year when we did it. It was just our core 6 group of guys. This year we decided to open it up a little bit wider, a broader scope of who can vote for the movies that'll be nominated. So we opened it up to fellow movie podcasters, opened it up to movie fans that we knew in Sioux Falls, filmmakers as well, owners of theaters also voted. So we have quite a eclectic list that came upon this show. So we had 15 people vote on it this year.
Okay.
And they all voted in our 6 categories: best film, director, actor, actress, supporting actor, and supporting actress. So everybody voted their personal top 5.
Okay.
And then I took that list and compiled that 15's.
So you're Price Waterhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, your secret envelopes.
Yeah. La La Land is not the winner this year.
You beat me to the punch on that one, that's for sure. And so is it the same films that are up for the Oscars? Or what were people able to vote on?
The voting category this year was actually kind of different than it would be for the Oscars because of the pandemic last year. The Oscars extended all the way into, I believe, February or March. For us, we still just go by the calendar year. So any movie that came out in 2021 was eligible for us. And we had a few nominees that were also voted in last year's Oscars, including Judas and the Black Messiah. So we had crossover with last year's awards for them that won't be appearing in their award show this year.
Are these a lot of streaming shows through Netflix and so forth? Or because, you know, we still don't have theaters up to where they were pre-pandemic, obviously. So, you know, how much of what we're going to hear for the nominees and the winners and so forth are going to be recognizable?
I think most of them are going to be a good mixture of, we have our popcorn movies, we have Marvel movies, we have the DC movies.
Right.
But we also have what the Oscars will probably vote on this upcoming week with like Licorice Pizza and West Side Story,
and so forth.
the big like Spielberg type of award show movie. So we have a good mixture of both. And then we also do have the streaming movies. So like Netflix was a big part of our voting service this year. HBO Max, just because they released everything on their streaming service the same day as they did in theaters. That was a huge part.
That was a huge move for them too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. A lot of Disney Plus too.
We don't have a whole lot of Disney Plus just because they haven't delved into movies too much yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we open it up to TV shows, especially with their Star Wars and Marvel stuff,
Yeah.
I think quite a few movie fans would be voting for that. But surprisingly, no movies from Disney Plus.
All right. So what about Casey Kelderman votes then? Are you going to tell us who you think are the best?
I can, because I'm not on the show. I'm going to be doing
You're the tabulator.
I'm the guy sitting in the chair this time.
Fun.
I'm leaving all the hard work up to everybody else, but I have my horses in this race. I think the best picture for me this year is a movie called Inside, which was a Netflix special, is what it was called. It was an 1.5 hour long comedy special from Bo Burnham. I think it was the perfect movie to describe 2021. It's about being locked in a room by yourself and what you go through and all the stages of emotion that go along with that. And so for me, that would be my personal pick. But I think we have some other great picks out there. I think for me, Andrew Garfield is the performer of the year just because of Tick, Tick, Boom is what he's nominated for us. Him also appearing in other movies I will not spoil, I think was also a big part of this year. So for me, he's my pick for that category as well.
All right. Well, let's just keep going then. Actress
for me is kind of a surprising one because it is one I didn't vote on right away. It is one that I had to catch up on that everybody else voted upon. I'm going to go with Kristen Stewart for Spencer, where she plays Princess Diana, and she just delivers a powerhouse performance in that, where it's almost because of her performance, because it becomes a horror film in that way, like just following her character in that movie. It's a great movie, and I hope the Oscars kind of follow suit with us. They don't know what we're doing, but we can pretend that they do, and also vote for her for the Oscars as well.
All right. What's next? Supporting
actor is kind of one of our big like eclectic categories, because we have like Ben Affleck for the last duel, Lakeith Stanfield, Jeffrey Wright, Tony Leung, and David Dastmalchian. So two Marvel, a Marvel and a DC movie in there as well. And for me, Tony Leung, I think, sticks out in this category for me for his performance in Shang-Chi from Marvel. And I think he's the standout for me in that category. But I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Affleck wins just because of his hair alone.
All right. Supporting actress.
Again, we have quite the eclectic list. Again, someone else from the Suicide Squad popping up in here. But my pick is Rebecca Ferguson from Dune, which was a big movie in our voting pool this year, and a big movie that came out in 2021. But I think she's the standout performer in that entire movie, and so I'm very glad that she was nominated. And if I had a vote, that's where my vote would go.
All right. And you had one other category, too.
The last category is Best Director, which is a tough one. It's a really tough one for our voting pool to have on there. But again, I just mentioned Dune. I'm going to say it again. Denis Villeneuve, who kind of just knocks it out of the park every time he makes a movie. I'm going to go with Dune just because of how big that movie is, and that wide of scope that you have to present them on the big screen or the small screen, which in case for that movie, I watched it at home on HBO Max.
Or a bigger small screen.
Yeah.
52-inch. So what was it that attracted you this year to those particular types of shows and so forth? Because it seems like DC and Marvel is just, exponentially growing in terms of box office. But still not necessarily, when it comes to awards, we end up at Oscar time going, never heard of that, and so forth.
Yeah, I think
so. What draws you to those?
That's one of the reasons we wanted to do this award show, because we kind of feel like sometimes those type of movies, horror, comic book movies, musicals, comedies, don't ever get nominated at the Oscars or the big award shows. So we're like, let's at least put our voice in there on why we love those. Like something like Dune might be nominated for like technical categories at the Oscars, but probably not anything else, just because it is a sci-fi movie. Or Marvel movies. They very rarely, unless you're like Black Panther and have to be nominated that year, don't. And so I think that was a big thing for us, is we need to show representation in our voting pool as well, just because it's you can't deny comic book movies anymore. They are the big thing in movies.
And the other thing is what I love about it is the fact that, it's a local thing. Although, worldwide, because it is a podcast that you have, so anybody can chime in on that and so forth. But you chose it based off of, people that are actually going to movies, watching movies, the fellow podcasters and so forth. So it's a good representation. It's not highbrow. So you are going to get those different nominees and so forth in there. So how many nominees did each category get then?
So each category has 5 nominees.
Okay, out of what was all collected from 15 different voters.
From 15 different voters, but out of those 15, some of them had 25, 30 people. I had wheeled it down to just 5 from that. So we had quite the crazy list come in from different people, and a lot of surprises, I think, in there as well. And I think a big part of the show is, like you said, it has this local flavor to it. You might not have heard of Licorice Pizza yet,
right?
But of Shang-Chi or the Suicide Squad, and seeing two movies in the same category together might entice someone to be like, well, if you guys liked Shang-Chi and you also voted for Judas and the Black Messiah, maybe I need to check that one out because I haven't seen it yet.
You mentioned Ben Affleck. Any votes for Tender Bar?
We did have one. One person. But I think that also I used some of those voting who voted for people in different movies as a sway towards the movie who had the most votes. So Ben Affleck had quite a few votes for The Last Duel, but also the Tender Bar. Or Andrew Garfield had 3 different movies he was nominated for. So I'm like, he has to show up at least.
Right.
Then.
Yeah. So remind us about Backlot 605 when you're not doing a live show. And I know that you've ventured into doing the subscription type shows for Patreon supporters and so forth. And good for you, man. I think that's awesome. But the regular free one and so forth, how often are we getting that? And you're still 50 some episodes ahead of me, I bet.
Yeah, we have not stopped. And it is one of those things that every single Wednesday we drop a new episode, but because of the pandemic, we've had to change up our format a little bit. Before, it was kind of like, well, let's talk about the new movie that comes out in the theaters. Well, 2020 happened and the movie theaters weren't open. Or if they were, they weren't showing the new releases, which is why we've been catching up on those this year. But yeah, every single Wednesday, we're continuing to put out a new episode. The format of the show is basically every month we have a brand new series that we're talking about. So like for the month of February, we're celebrating Black History Month and we're talking Viola Davis movies. She's one of the best actresses in the world, phenomenal. Period. Best actors, doesn't matter anything else. She is just incredible in everything she does. And I think that's a big thing we want to explore on our show is different type of movies, because January we did true crime movies. We're just mixing it up every single month. And kind of for us as hosts with myself, Brian and Sam is, well, we haven't seen this movie yet.
You've added Sam Lenz.
We added the wild card Sam Lenz to the mix.
Card.
Yeah,
that is truly a wild card, no doubt about that. Sam's a good friend, love the guy, and he has great insight on so many things. So that does bring a different dynamic to your show then. So it's 3 dudes talking about a movie, and then you talked about everybody that you included for voting for the live show. Is the fat dude a voter?
Oh, Mr. Andy Heller is definitely a voter. Yes.
I love his rating system, the tacos and then the golden avocado and so forth. Just always get a kick out of those, but always love you guys' podcast. I've been a guest on it a few times. So what do we have coming up for March then?
March, we are actually going to be announcing on the show. But
nice tease.
I will just say there is a big movie coming out in March. And if you know what that movie is, that's our series for that month.
Sounds good. One of the things that I've kind of volunteered to be on one of your shows, Major League Baseball starts in April. Hint, hint.
Dave, we've done a baseball one, and I've been pitching for the last 2 years to do a part 2 and a part 3 and a part 4, just because baseball is the sports movie category to talk about.
There's a lot of good football ones and so forth, but a baseball movie, there's something special about them. Whether it's the biopic type, or whether it's just a fun comedy, but there's also been some great ones. And Andy Heller and I agree on this one that one of my favorite baseball movies is For Love of the Game. I will stop doing whatever if I see that's on TV while I'm flipping channels, and love that. But also, like Moneyball. I loved Moneyball more than I ever thought. And one of the great lines that came out of Moneyball, at least for me, was when Billy Bean, played by that kid that looks kind of good and so forth.
He's all right.
Yeah, he's all right. And his assistant is saying, "You got to watch this." It's about the catcher that's pretty good sized, and he's going to go for it after he hits the ball, and he rounds first, and he falls over, and everybody's laughing at him. And it was the first time that he'd ever tried to go for more than first base. And the reason everybody's laughing is because he hit a home run. He didn't even realize he'd hit a home run. And the line that Billy Bean, the character Billy Bean, has is, "It's tough not to be romantic about baseball, isn't it?" And that one sticks with me. And there's always so many good ones that, quotable things in baseball movies, and especially Field of Dreams. I've referenced Field of Dreams even in an obituary I wrote about my father and so forth, and so there's so many relatable things in baseball movies. So enough on that. What's our current situation with film in theaters right now?
I think it's in a kind of an interesting situation right now because we just saw with Spider-Man No Way Home, it just broke into the top 5 domestic movies of all time during a pandemic. And I think that shows the state of movies right now, is that with Spider-Man, which is still, I believe this past weekend was the first time it was not in the number 1 or 2 spot. And that movie's been out since first or second week of December, and so it's been a 6-7 week run for that movie. And I think that shows the state of movies right now. Of comic book movies, they're still going to make their money, right? Everything else, good luck.
Yeah,
which is kind of a scary thought to think about.
I think it's just strange in that regard. But I guess what I like about the fact is that the longevity of something like that. It's been a while since we've had things that stay in the theater. The runs are so short typically, and to be able to say, wow, we're going on 12 weeks with this show, and that it can still be there and viable and so forth, and nobody's looking to pull the plug on it before it goes out to be rented. So that's a plus. And I haven't been back enough yet. No doubt about that. Have been to the state. Support, first of all. Second of all, I love the format that they use in terms of having so many different movies you could go to on a weekend instead of just a one run. So, you're basically, even though it's one theater, you're kind of getting a multiplex out of it. And so I enjoy that. But I have been able to catch up quite a bit on the streaming services and so forth. So I'm glad they're there for that. And the other thing I'm glad for in that regard is that you can go back and see some movies you missed a few years back.
Yeah.
Like last night ended up watching Tom Hanks show from 2016. And I really didn't even know about it. And so that was fun. But, the fact that, people are going back to the theater and you can sit and have some really heavily buttered popcorn. And then at the state, the first time we went to the state, my wife's favorite part of the movie had nothing to do with the movie. It had to do when everyone collectively cracked their beer. She just thought that was the best thing ever. I'm still waiting for a movie theater that serves Jack Daniels. But, once that comes around, we'll be there every night. What's your love of movies?
What is my love of movies? I think it's just something that's been in my life ever since I can remember. I think it was something that's always been there and has evolved and changed and grown and dwindled sometimes, but it's always been a part of it. And I think for me, why movies are important are, for me, I don't watch sports. And so sometimes when you meet someone new, that's a way to connect with someone.
Right.
But I think movies do this exact same thing of, it's hard to find someone who has never seen a movie. And you can always start a conversation with that. Like, hey, what's the last movie you saw? Or what's your favorite movie? Or have you seen this movie? It's always a good conversation starter.
And have you been swayed by those conversations to watch something that you never thought you would watch?
I have. And I think that's one of the big reasons why with our little film community that is starting to build in Sioux Falls is I'm hearing about all these movies I've never seen or heard of before. And for me, I felt like I knew a lot till I came to Sioux Falls. I'm like, I don't know anything about movies sometimes. And that's why I'm glad there's people like Andy Heller to be like, oh, you should watch this movie. And sometimes I'll do the same thing. Well, Andy, you should watch this movie, or whoever else you meet at the State Theater as well. I think that's such a great area to build community of. They're showing these retro movies and new releases that are sometimes the small art house indie movies, and I think it's just this communal aspect that movies definitely bring. And that's why I'm glad for multiplexes as well that people are starting to go back out, because like watching Spider-Man opening nights with a packed theater where everybody's hooting, hollering, and cheering, this is what I've missed in the last couple of years, and it's nice to have that type of experience back. Yeah,
no doubt about that. I want to get the like you had in it, the Schumkies, coming up basically since this podcast comes out on Thursday tonight at 7 o'clock out at the Spellbound Magic out on 41st and Marion, a little strip mall there, and a fun spot to do things.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see the new layout Travis says he has in store for it that can seat a few more people than last time. And he's always growing and evolving that store, and it's always nice to see that.
I was out there for Snow Jam and took in a couple of the things there. In fact, even participated in it with the open mic section. So fun place and very community minded. And we love that about Travis, and so thankful for that. And we love the fact that we've got local podcasts and so forth. So we mentioned yours, Backlot 605. So you've got the live one tonight. You've got the typical weekly. And then you do some specials for those that will pay a subscription, Patreon. So that's great. And then Andy Heller has his. Fat Dude Digs Flicks.
Took me forever to get that off the tongue when I first heard of him.
Who else we got out there locally and so forth? Because you've got like Blake Jenathan has been on yours before and so forth. There's a lot of people that show up. Charlie Eccles, is he going to be emceeing or anything?
He is our host for the evening.
Is, okay. Excellent.
The voice of South Dakota wrestling will be our host for the show. And I want to throw out some of the other people that are going to appear on the show as well. Since you mentioned Snow Jam, we're going to have Jamie Tucker performing on the show. And we're very excited to have her on. And I know she's a movie fan and a horror fan as well.
And a wrestling fan, too.
And a wrestling fan. Yeah. So I think she's just going to fit right in on this show. And then Travis and I will be performing some magic on the show. Yeah. Per his request, Mr. Sam Lenz will be his Vanna White for year 2. If you missed it last year, you're not going to want to miss
Sama
it.
White?
Yes. Oh, I'm ready for him to get scared again, because that's what happened last time. And I don't know what Travis has in store for him, but knowing that Sam will be his assistant, I think he'll pull out all the stops for that. And then we also have Aaron Keller performing music on the show, and I've been told he'll be performing some movie themes.
Oh, nice.
Not sure which ones yet. He gave me a few ideas, but he might have some surprises as well. So.
Oh man, it's just so fun to talk movies, to talk theaters being open and things like that again. And your podcast is awesome, and so looking forward to seeing so many more. I dig the themes. And that's fun when we get those. And so looking forward to those. And I'm looking forward to March with that little show that might be coming out. But always love to end the conversations with a couple of questions. So when you're not partaking and being part of the arts and entertainment scene in the Sioux Empire, what do you like to be at, to be entertained or to take in art?
Obviously, movies are the big one, but besides that, I am an avid podcast listener, and that is one thing I just love to do, and I love discovering new ones, especially in Sioux Falls or the surrounding area, because we have yourself, we have Midtown, we have,
which is where I will be
doing a live podcast, and I love seeing that we have multiple podcasts doing live shows, because I think that's something new and interesting that we've not seen in Sioux Falls very often. So I'm glad that we have multiple opportunities for people to go to. And then other podcasts, we have like the L Squared podcast, which is another movie podcast.
Fearless Falls from Mo Hurley.
Yes, I just discovered that one in the last couple of weeks, and I'm like, that's cool that we have that. There's a ton. I know I'm missing. Local Lou is doing her history podcast as well. Wednesday Comics, a comic book look. So you have like your comic book flair.
Let's see, Town Crier,
Mr. Nathan Holtz is still doing his thing. I know Rob Mailing is around there, and you can go back and listen to some of the old. In fact,
Robert's going to be a guest in a few weeks.
Yeah, he was just on our show, and he's there's a reason he's called the Podfather.
Yep, no doubt about it. Great guy. All right. So other than entertainment, then any other hobbies?
Only other hobbies I have, I love to watch professional wrestling. We mentioned it, and that's a big flair of our show, as we kind of try to incorporate
like Ric Flair.
We're wooing all the time on these shows, but with Charlie Eccles hosting, we always like to have this little bit of professional wrestling-ism to it, where you should boo at certain times or cheer at certain times. Maybe someone gets hit with a chair, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
All right, fantastic. Looking forward to that. And then, anything special happened in the past year?
In the past year,
like last summer or anything?
I don't know. Just besides getting married, I guess was a big thing.
That's what I was headed toward.
Small
thing. Come on.
I'm kidding.
All right. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. It's been honestly not a lot has changed besides my wife's last name, but we're living our best life right now and planning a honeymoon. So that is always very exciting. So
good for you. Yeah, a little time away.
Yes.
Never heard. All right, Casey Kelderman from Backlot 605, the Schumkies Awards tonight at 7:00 out at Spellbound. Live podcast. Go out there, take it in. I guarantee you it will be fun. I guarantee you I will miss it. But also, if you don't want to go to that, there's this Midtown Coffee Radio Hour show going on at Rocky. All right, Casey, as always, a pleasure to see you and have a great conversation about movies.
Yes, thank you so much, Dave.
Anytime. And we'll be back to wrap up the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment. Ladies, when it's time to give your nails some love, get that extra special treatment from Quality Nails on South Minnesota Avenue in Sioux Falls. Manicures and pedicures that look great and make you feel fantastic. Zaya and Tony provide professional care for your hands and feet, whether you just want the basics or an extra special look with added flair. Oh, and guys, it's okay to treat yourself too. Quality Nails. Call for an appointment. 605-334-1463.
From the Dipsy Doodle Studios at the world headquarters of Big D Entertainment, a 40-square-foot home studio in the middle of America, it's Dave Holly.
Thanks again, everyone. Appreciate your listenership and your shares on social media. We keep climbing in that old downloads, and then the Facebook page keeps growing as well. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Thanks to my guests today, Collin, McKenzie, and Steve Rausch from Storybuilt, talking about Vertical Freedom, a documentary that's going to premiere out in Las Vegas on Tuesday the 22nd. I'm still trying to find a way to see if I can make it. And also thank you to Casey Kelderman. He and the group from Backlot 605 have their Schumkies Awards as part of their live podcast coming up at 7 o'clock tonight. Me, I will be at Augustana College in the back alley as part of the part of the Midtown Radio. We'll get them all right here. Part of the Midtown Coffee Radio Hour. Yes, it'll be fun. Might even have some long-distance people showing up at that one. We'll find out. And then don't forget, you also could go to Lombardi, playing at the Premier Playhouse. That starts at 7. By the way, Midtown Coffee Radio Hour, that starts at 7:30. And then tomorrow night, the ruggedly handsome trivia host is back at it with cartoons and animation trivia at the Sky Lounge in T. And then Saturday, we're going out to the Red Rockin' Rowena. It's time to karaoke with Crazy Frank. Hopefully you've enjoyed this show as much as you've enjoyed so many of them. I just love the fact that this thing keeps growing. And thank you so much for all of that. In the meantime, remember, I'm Dave Holly, and for me, every day is a holiday.
The Dave Holly Hour has been brought to you by the Sky Lounge and Tea, XL Chiropractic, Quality Nails, Ale Hop Brewery Tours, and Jesse Moffett Entertainment. If you would like to contribute to the continued success of this podcast, go to DaveHollyHour.com. At the bottom of the front page is the additional links section. Click on the orange button, Dave Holly on Linktree. You can order merchandise, become a Dave Holly Hour VIP, and make contributions to the show. The Dave Holly Hour is produced in the Dipsy Doodle Studios by Big D Entertainment.
Thanks for listening.